Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another video and welcome back to Mastering the Faith. If you're new here or found this video through Mastering the Man, go ahead and hit the subscribe button because we've been posting content for 13 days straight on a plan titled Trusting God's Plan and Awaiting. It's a story about Joseph and how God continued to be with Joseph through all his trials and tribulations, just like he's being with us through our period of wait. But we've been consistent for 13 days of posting content every day. So glad to have you here. Today is day 14. Hope that you guys like the video and hope that you make it to the end of the video where you can hear about all of our group chat discussions at that point. So let's get straight into it today. Day 14. Today we see a dream come into fruition in front of Joseph's eyes as his brothers kneel before him. How many times must he have thought of the dream to later dismiss it when it never seemed possible? How could a slave ever have his family bow down to him? Things don't always go as expected, but one thing is for certain. If God gives you a promise, he will keep it. Joseph has no reason to trust what his brothers are saying when he accuses them of being spies. These guys lied to his father and planned to kill him. They could be lying about the brother Benjamin, so he throws them all to a prison with the idea that he'll let one leave to get Benjamin. 3 days go by and then Joseph has changed his mind. Do this and you will live, for I fear God. Maybe Joseph was feeling guilty because he believes his father and his family are starving. He forces them all to leave except for Simeon, who was to stay until they bring Benjamin back. And now the real truth comes out. They said to one another, "Surely we are being punished because of our brother. We saw how distressed he was when he pleaded with us for his life, but we would not listen. That's why this distress has come upon us." They have no clue Joseph knows exactly what they're saying. How could they? They thought Joseph was an Egyptian and he would have not known Hebrew language. Put yourself in Joseph's sandals. What he knew to be true, he's actually hearing again. The feelings of abandonment, fear, and deep hurt come rushing back to his mind. The painful wound he's been hiding for so long is now being ripped wide open. It's so painful. He has to turn away to secretly weep. Unfortunately, this soul wound won't be healed today. Joseph has Simeon bound before their eyes and taken away as he dismisses the men to go back to their land. He secretly has their silver returned to them in the bags of grain they purchased. This little trick will later create great fear in them when they discover the silver. They're afraid they'll be accused of stealing from the Egyptians. When they tell Jacob they need to take Benjamin to Egypt as the governor requested in order to free up Simeon, he won't allow it. They are in a no-win situation. Joseph's actions just may have deeper roots than we can imagine. All right, that's it for the devotion today, so let's get straight into the questions. The questions are, what clues do you see in Joseph's behavior to demonstrate that he hasn't dealt with his hurts? What contrast do you see from when Joseph first had the dream to now seeing it fulfilled? And what do you think Joseph hid from that? And why do you think Joseph hid his identity from his brothers? All right, so let's get straight into this first one. What clues do you see in Joseph's behavior that demonstrate he hasn't dealt with his hurt? One, he hasn't told his brother who he is yet, right? He's putting on this facade as an Egyptian that doesn't understand, doesn't know what's going on, accusing them of spies, has them playing like little games and mind games with them. He hasn't really come out and say, you know what, I am Joseph. I remember you guys. He hasn't really revealed himself to them yet. So I think the mind games and the constant accusations about, you know, why they're really there are just clues to why Joseph hasn't really healed. Wanting to see Benjamin for himself, you know, not believing that there's another brother, not believing that my father will create another son after losing me is one of the things that, you know, kind of sticks out to me in this setting. But there's many reasons why Joseph hasn't healed, right? The naming of his sons, that's something that we talked about yesterday. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you go back. But the naming of his sons and how that is a constant reminder of what actually happened in Joseph's life is a constant thing about, you know, not being healed and not really being able to accept where you are in life. What contrast do you see from when Joseph first had the dream to now seeing it fulfilled? So when Joseph first had the dream, I think it was a dream of humility, right? It was, my brothers are bound before me, but he had no understanding of why. Even now, as he knows that his brothers are bound before him, he doesn't take into consideration that they really need his help. It's kind of like, oh, I'm the high and mighty one. It's no area of humility. It's, I'm the high and mighty one, and you're at my feet because of what you did to me, not because you really need me. It's because of what you did to me. And why do you think Joseph hid his identity from his brothers? I think it was a little bit of hurt. I think it was a little bit of retaliation. I think he knew that he could mess with them. But I also think it was, you know, let me see if they have any remorse about what happened to me and why. And let me see what they say about it before I reveal myself to them. All right, so before we get out of here today, we're going to read verses from the book of Genesis, NLT version again. The NLT version for me is something that I find easier to read, easier to understand when it comes to reading the Bible and just understanding what's actually being said in the Bible. So I like to read NLT, but you can choose any version or transcription that works for you. In Genesis 42 verse 9 on down, and it says, "And he remembered the dreams he'd had about them many years before. He said to them, 'You are spies. You have come to see how vulnerable our land has become.' 'No, my lord,' they exclaimed. 'Your servants have simply come to buy food. We are all brothers, members of the same family. We are honest men, sir. We are not spies.' 'Yes, you are,' Joseph insisted. 'You have come to see how vulnerable our land has become.' 'Sir,' they said, 'there are actually 12 of us. We, your servants, are all brothers, sons of a man living in the land of Canaan. Our youngest brother is back there with our father right now, and one of our brothers is no longer with us.' But Joseph insisted, 'As I said, you're in spies. This is how I will test your story. I swear by the life of Pharaoh that you will never leave Egypt unless your younger brother comes here. One of you must go to get your brother. I'll keep the rest of you here in prison. Then we'll find out whether or not your story is true. By the life of Pharaoh, if it turns out that you don't have a younger brother, then I'll know you are spies.' So Joseph put them all in prison for 3 days. On the third day, Joseph said to them, 'I am a God-fearing man. If you do as I say, you will live. If you are really an honest man, choose one of your brothers to remain in prison. The rest of you may go home and get grain for your starving families. But you must bring your youngest brother back to me. This will prove that you are telling the truth, and you will not die.' To this they agreed. Speaking among themselves, they said, 'Clearly we are being punished because of what we did to Joseph long ago. We saw his anguish when he pleaded for his life, but we wouldn't listen. That's why we're in this trouble.' 'Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy?' Reuben asked. 'But you wouldn't listen, and now we have to answer for his blood.' Of course, they didn't know that Joseph understood them, for he had been speaking to them through an interpreter. Now he turned away from them and began to weep. When he regained his composure, he spoke to them again. Then he chose Simeon from among them, and he tied him up right before their eyes. Joseph then ordered the servants to fill the men's sack with grain, but he also gave secret instructions to return each brother's payment at the top of his sack. He also gave them supplies for their journey home. So the brothers loaded their donkey with grain and headed for home. But when they stopped for the night, and one of them opened his sack and got grain out for his donkey, he found the money at the top of his sack. 'Look,' he exclaimed to his brothers, 'my money has been returned. It's here in my sack.' Then their hearts sank, trembling. They said to each other, 'What has God done to us?' When the brothers came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan, they told him everything that had happened to them. 'The man who was the governor of the land spoke very harshly to us,' they told him. 'He accused us of being spies scouting the land, but we said we are honest men, not spies. We are 12 brothers, son of our father. One brother is no longer with us, and the younger is at home with our father in the land of Canaan.' Then the man who was governor of the land told us, 'This is how I will find out if you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me and take grain for your starving families and go home. But you must bring your younger brother back to me. Then I will know you are honest men and not spies. Then I will give you back your brother, and you may trade freely in the land.' As they emptied out their sacks, there in each man's sack was a bag of money he had paid for the grain. The brothers and their fathers were terrified when they saw the bags of money. Joseph exclaimed, 'You're robbing me of my children. Joseph is gone, Simeon is gone, and now you want to take Benjamin too? Everything is going against me.' Then Reuben said to his father, 'You may kill 2 of my sons if I don't bring Benjamin back to you. I'll be responsible for him, and I promise to bring him back.' But Jacob replied, 'My son will not go down with you. His brother Joseph is dead, and he is all I have left. If anything should happen to him on your journey, you will send the grieving, white-haired man to his grave.'" All right, y'all, that's it for today, man. Day 14. Please come back tomorrow, day 15, as we find out what happens in this story. Again, we're just learning to trust God in the wait, right? We're in a season of waiting for something amazing to happen. Over the 22-day journey, we're on day 14, and we're just waiting for something amazing to happen with us and with this videos. We're asking that God just continue to pour into us and be present in our lives. You have to remember that the Bible says, and God was always with Joseph. And just like God was with Joseph, he's with us. And just like he's with us, you're with me right here watching this video. And I'm glad you made it this far to the video. So please make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss tomorrow's video. You know exactly when we drop. And I'll see you tomorrow, day 15. Keep mastering. God bless. See ya. Let's go.